It's the Working Class Bowhunter Podcast. If you didn't hear it 400 times in our intro, if you're lost, welcome.
Or if you didn't read it when you clicked on this episode.
Yeah, you're doing good. We got you. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here. Kurt Geyer speaking.
Eric Hammond.
We're outnumbered.
We are outnumbered.
And could be a problem. Depends on where we go with this episode. Joe's already given me the side eye because I didn't like his trade show trout. Joe Humphreys is in the building.
Sitting in for Doug Schmidt.
Yeah, how's that mic smell, buddy?
It smells like Wisconsin cheese.
Oh, okay. All right, I see what you did. Mm-hmm. Next in line, Mr. Greg Ritz, man. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thank you guys. Appreciate the trip out to the farm today.
This is awesome that you're here. I feel like this has kind of been like something in the works since really the first time we podcasted with you, probably in, was it 2017?
Yeah, ATA show.
ATA, yep.
Been a while.
It has been.
So thanks
It's cool to watch your careers develop and how many people you guys influence, positive or negative.
Yeah,
well,
thanks,
we
man.
got a lot to get into. I'm excited. I see what you did there. I got to be on my toes on this one a little bit. But no, man, it was great. Got to go out and see your farm. We're going to break into it. Next in line, your I don't know what your title is.
Farm manager extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire.
Or the Dick of all trades.
Dick of all trades.
There
I like
you go.
it. And I don't know your last name, so I don't know how to properly give you the introduction.
Rob Kivala.
I wouldn't have got that right anyway.
No, not
Most
at all.
people don't.
Well, Rob, you've been great today, man. We appreciate you coming along. And,
I appreciate you guys coming
hanging
on.
out. And
Yeah.
you listened, and thank you for that. That means a lot. You actually listen to the podcast.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So that means a lot. Really, because it's just like, I'm like, oh, you do listen. You can tell when you tell us shit.
You remember when Steve drank the cherry or the happy hour?
Had a happy hour.
Took
Yeah,
a swig of it.
That was like 3 years ago.
That was a long time ago.
And going around the corner, Mr. Daryl Cherry, Seed
Extraordinaire.
Jedi.
Always fun to be here.
Seed
You seem
professional.
really excited, Daryl. He's like, yep.
What is your
thanks.
title?
Product development and operations. That's what Joe came up with and put on the card at least.
What's your title, Joe?
If you look at my card, I think it says Director of Whitetail Growery or Antler Growery.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Brewery.
Director of Sales and Marketing as
Growery.
well.
Okay, since we're doing this, Greg, what's your title? What do you call yourself?
The Hunt Master.
Yeah,
Nice, there it is.
nice. It's all
And
falling into
Daryl's
place.
the seed master.
The Seed Master.
He's actually in my phone as Daryl, the seed guru.
Oh, I like that.
That's Frank Archie. This is the Hunt Master.
I love that. So,
Mr. Hunt Master.
well, I think let's just talk about our day and start there because that's going to roll into some great conversation.
Absolutely.
But Frank was with us today.
Yep.
And you guys were saying that he doesn't call you, he just calls you the Hunt Master.
The Hunt Master.
No matter what.
No matter
No
what.
matter what.
That's amazing though. Isn't that, like his energy is almost like, it's like,
There's no one else like him.
he has a youthful energy that like makes you want to be happier. Like it makes you want to like channel Frank's vibes.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's healthy.
No doubt.
It's a healthy
Always
energy.
positive. He's always positive.
Always.
Yeah. So that's cool that he's like, I'm with the Hunt Master.
Man, we're
Well, like after being there for 2.5 or 3 days, he's like, guys, I'm at the Hunt Master's cabin. Like, he's here.
I drove his truck.
He just takes everything in, don't he?
I love it.
Oh, it's awesome.
I love it. So today we went out to your farm and you gave us like the VIP tour. So, and we get to see a lot of the behind the scenes. And of course, I know we didn't get to see all of it, but you shared a few, like, you want to see some cool stuff? Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Yeah,
And-
why wouldn't we?
And everything you guys do, first off, it's like there's a reason behind everything you're doing. Like, you're not just doing things to do them. And this will probably be the better way I start this podcast. It must be nice to have all that stuff just handed to you and you can just go and kill big deer, right? That's how it works.
Absolutely. Handed down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Generation after generation.
TV hunter, right?
The one thing that was handed down to me was hard work.
That's right. Yeah.
When I was a young kid growing up, my dad said to be successful, he says, son, you only ever have to work a half a day. That's it. Half a day and you will be successful in life. I said, I don't understand that. My dad was hard worker. He said, yeah, the first 12 hours or the second 12 hours.
Oh, I like that.
That is a good one.
And really, whitetail farming, managing the food plots and what we do, habitat management, it's endless. You guys do it yourself. The 40 we talked about. I mean, you have big dreams for that piece of property.
Yeah, of course.
It's 24/7.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, if people can't catch my sarcasm and your rebuttal to that, it's like I'm obviously kidding, because the first thing I think is like, if people knew how much work and just time and money and effort and blood, sweat, tears, the cliche things that everybody gets, but really, you don't actually understand. You can't understand until you like go and see the process of it and what you guys are actually doing. And it's not only just for big antlers, it's for the deer, the habitat, and everything else that utilizes it. There's you guys definitely think big picture and not just like this TV hunter shallow mindset that people like to paint in their own imagination because they're jealous.
Yeah. It's personal to us.
Yeah.
Right. Every deer is like a child. So when that child goes missing, we try to find them. Right. And if it goes from one year to the next year, what can we do better? How can we provide not only for deer, for turkeys, for quail that are on our property, for honeybees? It doesn't matter. It's like, how can we put something back instead of being taker? So I want to be additive, not subtractive. There's a lot of hunters that go out there and they enjoy the outdoors, but they're subtractive. And I want to give back more than I take. So we may harvest maybe $5 to $6 off this property.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, last year was a few more, but it was.
But we focused on the management bucks.
Right. Yeah. We were just trying to push some of the older age class.
So basically 2 quote unquote trophy deer.
Yeah.
Out of all the bucks. The rest were management. But 50% of the rest of my buck herd, right, 3.5 years and older, were harvested by hunters on adjoining properties. And that happens every year. So I feel like I'm giving back to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely. One thing I like too, like right off the rip, you were kind of like reconnecting. I guess I don't know the terminology. Basically, you're kind of like resetting the ground for like habitat benefit for wildlife from what like kind of the modern farmer is doing, which is pretty unnatural.
Right. I mean, they're ripping up fence line. They're pushing in ditches. We have equipment now and technology that didn't exist 10 or 15 years ago. So how they farm is entirely different. And if they own an excavator, if they own a bulldozer, they're going to rip out that fence line. So what happens is you start having disconnected pieces of woods. So now you have these islands of wildlife that have to exist on their own, and those bloodlines can't be shared with one another. That coyote can't run from one block to another down a fence line, or that deer can't chase a doe, down that fence line, and it's not good. So I figure, well, I'm putting the fence lines back in. I'm putting the warm season back in. I'm trying to do things that were artificially removed, and I understand it's a business for the farmers. I don't have any issue there, but if I don't have to play by their rules, like when we started driving around the cabin, I showed you all the tillable fields that we put in warm season grasses and tree programs and things of that nature. And that's for the benefit of wildlife, because that comes out of my pocket. I don't get cash rent for that. I've received no government subsidy on any of the wildlife stuff that I do.
Really?
Yep. I'm not in CRP programs. And it's not that I'm against that. I've been enrolled in other properties. It's just that if I'm going to push the boundaries, I don't want to be put in a box.
Right.
I get what you're saying. For sure.
Right. Somebody's going to say, okay, you need to plant CP21. Well, suppose I don't want to plant CP21. I want to plant my own variety. And if I don't like it, I want to rip it up. Right. And if it doesn't work, I want to try something different.
Yeah.
Kind of like Daryl's seeds. If I don't like it, I rip it up.
He's like, watch it.
If it doesn't grow, try again.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. No, I like that. I like that attitude a lot. And I think it's a lot of people probably don't think about it that way. They just want to put whatever that's going to get them a check, and some people have to, whatever. But I just like that mindset. It's like it's a little different take. Like I don't know if it's been covered that way in all the episodes we've done when it comes to like land management. Like your perspectives and analogies and like breakdowns on how to hunt deer, how to hunt mature deer, like your pyramid like analogy you were making when we were talking. I'm like, it's a great way to structure like age class of deer and like deer in general, and then age class within that, which I do want to get into that too as we get going. But it's just it was a refreshing experience in general to go around that property, like see what you're doing and why. Because you went through, and it wasn't like we just drove by a field and you're just like, yeah, don't worry about that field. You know, you're like, oh, here's what we're doing here. Here's our plan here. Oh, down here, this is what we're putting in. We're trying this. So,
And this is why.
yeah, it was cool to like see it all step by step and the thought process. And I like too, some of it, you had logs that you're like, we're not logging this for money. We're logging this to basically for the deer's benefit. And I'd love for you to break that down a little bit too.
Absolutely. And, you know, and it's a building block. And every year you learn something you didn't know before. So, and whether you learn that through trial and experience, whether you learn that from talking with somebody else, I mean, I am truly blessed to be sitting in this room and in this industry. So you think I have how many lifetimes worth of experiences, right? Doing what we do. Now you add that on top of my good friends, the Lakoskis, my good friends, the Drurys, you know, my good friends, the Kiskis, my good friends, the Lindsay. Like, so there's a group out there that all believe in the same thing, and we talk all the time. So you get a tidbit here and a tidbit there, and then you try this, and there's no solution to whitetails. There isn't. There's always continuous improvement. There's always, and we talked about this with this 40 that you picked up, right? That's personal too. You'll never be done. On 40 acres, you'll never be done managing that wildlife.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I like the way that's all laid out.
It is.
You're like a whitetail poet, and you don't even know. You are, man. It's like the breakdowns make so much sense, but it gets your brain ticking.
But it does make sense because I'm poor, right? So poets are poor, right? So I spend every resource I have trying to figure out these whitetails. But But, you know, then you have people like Joe and Daryl come out to the farm, and they're pushing the envelope for seed technology. What's going to grow? What's going to germ the best? What's going to provide the best nutrition? What gives me a point of differentiation from my neighbors? And we're honored because we have a lot of test plots. And a lot of these, I'll be honest with you, all we're told is this bag is number one, right? So when you put this in, put a stake in there that says number one. Like, what's in it? Doesn't matter. This is how you plan it.
That's none of your business.
That's none of your business. Right. But
plan it.
right. But they approach it the same way, right? How do we? Because it's not about how to necessarily harvest an animal. It's what's right for the wildlife that in the full circle will provide you the benefit, you know, of a magnificent animal.
Right.
100%.
Yeah, I love that. And that kind of ties in. So some people might be like, Big Tine. I mean, they obviously know that we're all partners together. And it's like, when we're talking today, we're like, we have like a lot of
the same
common partners, you know.
Almost all of them, really.
Yeah.
All the way down the line.
Pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
So we just kind of like, I don't know, it's like, oh yeah, I was making fun of Joe for not having loopholed shades today because you forgot them. I did. I'm sorry, Joe. And I was like, "Oh yeah, loopholes."
Let's go back to the trout. Okay,
trout. Go back to the trout. We'll get to the trout. We got a little bit of talking to do.
A while till we make it to lunchtime.
But no, I do love the whole, just your guys' mindset on it all and the passion. It's like you guys are telling us stories while we're going through this farm like you've never told them before, and I know you have.
But
Both of you guys, you know, like you're showing trail cam pictures while we're riding the side by side. Like you never told anybody about that buck before that story.
Right. And it's you like, just tell you're so passionate about it.
Yeah, it's refreshing, awesome. Man, because it's like so many people, I think everyone that's at the level, we've surrounded ourselves with a lot of people that like are truly passionate about it, but you can't like fake that type of passion. Like you can't, no one would ever do it. It'd be a waste of it'd be miserable if you're faking it.
Well, at the end of the day, you have to have the passion because like whether it's Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, every farm has corn, has beans. Some of them have clover. And you're always thinking, we're always working, like, what can we do better on our piece so the deer stay here? Or they want to spend most of their time here, right? Because like I said, they can go over to your farm and eat corn, and they're probably all a lot of the same varieties, or the beans, and they're all planted about the same time, so they're all usually the same maturity level. So what can we do on our farm to make it more comfortable?
Deer don't know property lines.
No,
right? They don't.
That's right.
Yeah. And they're gonna go where they're like us. They're gonna go where it's more comfortable, or where it's easier, or it's safer. You know. So I mean, even down. I mean, I don't know if we can talk about the test we did with the clover. Can we? I mean, Daryl.
Oh, he raised
love
the eyebrow.
Daryl's so like vaguely concerned when he talks. He's
But
like, I don't know.
I mean, having partners that are passionate as well. Like, their foundation clover is by far, from everything I planted, the best.
Yeah.
Nothing touches it.
Yeah, you were breaking that down a little bit. You're like,
And he literally sent me 2 ingredients that are in the mix already that they sell. And he said, I want you to plant one variety here and one here, and let's compare it. Because if they like one more than another, then I'm going to tweak the ratio a little bit and give the deer a little bit more of that one.
oh.
And so
yeah,
far in 2 years, I mean, we're starting to, I mean, it's not just, it wasn't a knee jerk like the first year. I'm like, Daryl, man, they like this one. He's like, let's just watch it, right? Let's just see over time. And
Give it time.
we drove up on it yesterday, and there was 3 deer standing in one of the varieties and nothing in the other. And we literally got out, and he's on his hands and knees in there, and he's looking at this, and we're looking at all the beds and the browse pressure. And I mean, it's stuff like that, that literally, I mean, a mix that they know is already good.
Right.
What can we do to make it a little bit better?
A little bit better.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, it's easy to be passionate and be good when you've got partners that are equally as passionate.
Right. Yeah. It's motivating all around. It's like a motivational circle. It's like, dude, it's just the whole thing is just exciting. Like I just want to talk deer with you guys and land stuff, whatever. It's like we're watching different implements you guys are losing. I'm like, well, that's fucking badass. Look at that thing. It's like, it's just like,
we get some cool toys.
the whole thing is just fun. But okay, so you said something there. It's like, what can we do? And I'm just gonna I just want to randomly tackle some of this and just organically dissect. It's fun. So you said something there like, what can we do on our farm? Because you're comparing corn and beans and beans. What do you do? Like, what's the main thing or structure? I know this is a very loaded question with a lot of different answers, but I'm asking it that way on purpose because, like, what sticks out to you first? What do you do to make deer prefer your piece first over a neighboring piece, and then where do you go from there?
So I want to make one comment before we jump into this, right? I'm on open forum, right?
Yes.
That how we do things doesn't make them right or wrong, and how we promote the sport or engage in it. Hey, there's a lot of guys that just want to go out, have fun, interact with their kids, and shoot deer.
Yeah.
Go do it.
Heck yeah.
Right? My passion is now growing, passing a deer 6.5 to get to 7.5. Like, how far can we provide benefits to wildlife to get things to where there's genetic potential? That's just me. Like, that's
Right.
the engineering brain. But if somebody just wants to go have fun, go have fun.
Yeah.
Right. And I think sometimes we get, because we're in the tight group, like we get overly obsessive.
We're nerding out.
We're nerding out, right?
Yeah.
So I do respect the people who keep it simple. And for me, aside from all of this, it's the memories. It's the sharing things. Like retelling that story you said. You're right. I probably told that story 100 times, and it's just as fun the 101st time.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Because I'm passionate, the people listening are passionate. But back to your question. If you looked at a piece of property, and I'm sure you probably went through this when you purchased your piece. Why do I want to buy this piece of ground? Why do I want to spend X tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right, to go into debt to make this commitment? And how do I know it's right? The number one thing that I look for, right, is holding capability. I can make food. I can get a bulldozer. I can get an excavator. I can carve food out. It's a lot more difficult to create habitat. It's a longer process. It's not as diverse. It doesn't provide you the nutritional advantage that Mother Nature. So I'd rather have a farm like your 40 that naturally comes with everything, and then I can carve that up because I want the deer to live on me. I'm selfish.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah, but if you're like you said, if you're willing to spend that money for deer,
You gotta be.
You want it to be. I mean, to a point, it's like, not that you think you own all the deer, because we all know that's not true. But it's like, yeah, you want it to be as best it can be for spending the money.
Right. Well, you remember when I said when I bought the first farm, and all of these are building blocks. The first farm I owned was in Kentucky, 64 acres, and it's like $800 an acre, right? So every farm, then you 1031 it, and you build another farm, and you learn, and you start putting those pieces together. But one little trick that I've done for years now is I'll buy a farm, and then I try to section off the tillable, and then sell that to the farmer and then I still get the hunting rights of that tillable. So then I can pay down my mortgage, right, on the habitat that I kept to go buy another piece.
Right.
And by doing this, then the footprint that we were on is 2,000 acres. It's 1,000 acres of habitat and 1,000 acres of tillable. Because you're right, corn is corn, bean and beans, right? So I don't need to own corn and beans. Now, there's obviously an economic value to that. At the end of the day, that's not the differentiating factor between myself and my neighbor. If I build the best community for them to live in, where they want to go lay their head down and they feel the most secure, that's my focus is the habitat piece.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense, for sure. Yeah, like the comments, like you can make food. Yeah, it's like that stuff you can control after you. But yeah, it's much harder. It's a time investment.
Definitely not an overnight thing.
Well, you go plant trees. How many years does it take for trees to grow?
Yeah.
Or to become fruit bearing or nut bearing, and then you get the layers in the woods. I mean, you're talking 80 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. I want you said you sell you mentioned this earlier in the day too. You sell the tillable back to the farmer.
Well, to whatever farmers are joining me, or to the farmer that is willing to work with me on my hunting strategies and my habitat. So if I buy a piece, I try to identify the farmer then, and hey, it's a fair price, right? Whatever the appraisal is. But then let's say I have a 50-50 farm, 200 acres, 100 acres of habitat, 100 acres of tillable. The tillable is probably going to be 2 or 3 times the cost of the timber piece.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So if I buy a farm for, let's say, $8,000 an acre, right? And I divide that in half and go, okay, well, it's $3,000 an acre for the timber piece, and it's $12,000 an acre or whatever, $10,000 an acre for the tillable. I sell that off. I dollar cost average that. And now I'm in this for, $1,200 an acre for that for the habitat piece.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So
That
it's
does make
just
a
a
lot of
way,
making things work.
making things work.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Very interesting.
I'm surprised. Well, Austin's a farmer. He wants tillable when he can have it, but I'm surprised that's not a tactic he's ever brought up. Maybe it's in his bag of tricks or something. But no, that's cool. That's really cool. That can make, I never thought I'd ever own any ground ever, and I guess I learned. But I also Austin has taught me a lot. I never thought about the factor of farms making money. If your house made you money, everybody'd have a lot bigger house.
right.
You know what I mean? If you know what I mean? If you could put your house in a CRP income and it made you a stack, everyone would live in like $500,000 houses all over. I mean, maybe not, but you know what I'm saying.
Never mow your grass either.
That's right. Yeah, good point. Okay. Your yard's paying you, yeah. But so I'm like, oh wow. You just gotta find, for me, I had to find a unicorn, and I got lucky and I did. A unicorn for me. What worked for me, and I got lucky.
Right, because it's creating revenue and still providing you the opportunity. And the other piece is you get the appreciation over the land over time.
Yeah.
Right, so you may get maybe a 2 or 3 or 4% annual cash return on your farm based off of the income, which is the CREP program, right? And then let's say it's 3%, and then you add another 3% over time that it's going to appreciate. Well, now you got a 6% annual rate of return over 10 years. Like, that's pretty good. At the same time, I'm having fun.
You're having
Right.
a blast.
Yes, exactly. That's the thing. It's like, yeah, you're living it up. It's like, you go in your own piece, or like today, I don't know, we're all like just enjoying the ground in general. It's like something fun about it. You're like, it's nice. It's like, it's August and it's nice out today. You know? We're all living it
It
up,
wasn't
but-
blazing hot out today.
Yeah. But okay, going back to the complex, multi-answered question that I asked. I asked it very vague on purpose, but and I'm an idiot. But so I went with that. So yeah, the cover holding capacity for deer. What would be the next thing? Once you have that, obviously food, but you can control how you make your food and structure your food. But other than like the two obvious, is there some that you guys have seen that you're like, and maybe you don't want to give anything away?
No, I don't. I saw. So the first, when I look at a piece of property, the first is the habitat that I'm able to manipulate. Okay. And what I mean by that is most of the time when you buy habitat, it's been poorly managed, if not managed at all. Right. So in other words, they haven't done TSI work. They haven't gone in and done a tree release program. a lot of people who own ground don't understand it should not look like Sherwood Forest.
Yeah.
That is not healthy, right? We're not growing dinosaurs here that can eat leaves 50 feet up in the air.
There's no giraffes out here, right?
There's no
not.
giraffes.
There's not.
So
Trust me.
the next piece is kind of what we talked on earlier, which is getting tougher and tougher. What does the neighborhood look like? How do other pieces of property interconnect with this one? You will never control all your deer. You can't own, we're not Ted Turner, right? We're not going to go own 50,000 acres, in Iowa in one solid block.
Right.
So you're always going to have neighbors, and who those neighbors are, and then how the wildlife interacts with those neighbors. Is my deer going to go to them, but I also want their deer to come to me. So when a doe has fawns, typically if it's a healthy herd, you have 50-50 buck does and doe fawns, right? So 70% of those bucks, fawns, are going to leave the property. So think of it.
70%.
70%. Because this is Mother Nature saying you shouldn't sleep with your sister.
Right. Yeah, you gotta have that, actually. Shout out to Mother Nature, huh?
Right. So think about this, that the majority of the bucks that you have, that you're growing, that you're interacting with, were probably not born on your property. So whose property were they born on? So understanding your neighborhood is as important as understanding your home.
Right. Makes a ton of sense.
Because the 70% born on other properties now are now going to trickle in from other people's property.
Yeah. Okay. That's adding up.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is fun to me. You doing okay, Joe?
Doing good.
You need an Ignite? We have a Ignite on the table. If you use code WCB, you get another canister.
I've had so many Ignites this week.
Okay,
I mean,
just
this is day 4.
I just want to make sure you're having fun. I'm having a blast here. But
What was that code again?
It's WCB, Joe. And if you want to use it, you look sleepy.
No, I'm not sleepy.
Just making sure, dude. Just checking.
He's been working hard this week.
I'm literally just trying to sit in for Doug and not say
upset about
anything
the
at all
trout.
until the very end.
He's upset about the trout. We'll get to the trout.
Yeah, we'll get the trout
He was
later.
eating the slumber gummies.
Summer coming.
On the way here, on the drive here.
Sorry, Greg, that I interrupted our great deal. I just want to make sure you're having a good time, Joe.
I'm having a great time. I always have a great time.
I know you do. I'm just.
I mean,
checking.
sometimes like if Greg's talking, he's just shut up and listen
Oh,
because he's gonna
yeah.
get in your head.
I know. I'm trying to keep. So I'm not gonna lie. I'm being honest here. I'm having a hard time because I'm listening so much
And then thinking about other things.
that I can't think of my next question because I'm processing.
Let me ask a question. Something you just said a while ago about figuring out your neighbors and what they're doing and how they're doing it. What's the strategy of, besides just getting to know them over time, and what's the strategy for figuring out, okay, well, this is what this group of guys over here and this group of guys and so on, your surrounding neighbors, how do you figure that out?
Great question.
That's a good question.
And there's two ways to look at this. One is Onyx. Okay. We can learn so much from Onyx. So you can understand how big are the parcels next to you, right? Are they local people? Or are they from Chicago? If they're from Chicago, yeah, chances are they bought this as a recreational farm, right? And if it's in an LLC, it's probably a professionally run farm. Like there's little indicators on who the neighbors may be or how they operate. Okay. And obviously you can look for food plots, right? But the other thing is understanding how the flow of wildlife, comes and goes. And the other is observation. People forget old school. Okay, I love trail cameras. I don't know which ones that you guys are affiliated with. Americanics, best in the world.
Well, we go Blackgate, and they're pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Probably best in the world.
Yeah.
Probably. They are.
It's okay to be the second guy stepping on the moon, right?
Okay. Glad to have you. Glad to have you.
But we tend to rely only on what we see and not what exists. Like, in other words, we line up all of these data points and go, that's the facts. No, that's the facts based off of what you know. You don't know what you don't know. And people forget, go out. right now, right? It's perfect. Velvet season, beans, observe, like watch how wildlife moves, watch where deer congregate different times of the year. And that'll teach you as much as, any other type of, artificial information that you can get.
It was a great question, great answer. Good job, Daryl.
Contribution.
No, dude, you're killing it, man. You're just a co-host.
He's like, I'm out.
That is a good question though, because I mean, you don't you only know what you know until you try to.
Well, and the other piece to that is, so thinking down south, like let's take this out of the Midwest. You can get down there in the pine plantations, right? So looking for different types of habitat, on when you go into Onyx or it's a Google Earth, right? And to say, okay, well, here's a cedar thicket, here's deciduous forest, here's our evergreen area, right? And understanding where they live, the deer do what deer do.
Right.
We overcomplicate it. They don't overcomplicate it.
Sure.
They're going to go to the first food source with the highest nutritional value that's safe. Okay? Let's repeat that. They're going to go to the first food source with the highest nutritional value that's safe, meaning they'll walk 3 miles to stay safe, but they don't want to. Or they'll walk 3 miles to get high value food. And they'll walk past food, not that they don't nibble on the way, but they'll get to that destination, walk 3 miles back. So understanding, what you have and what the neighborhood has, and then it's a game of what's missing. So if we put all these pieces on the table, right, and we put the puzzle together, what piece is missing? And our goal is to plug in the missing pieces.
yeah,
Yep.
I love the equation of whitetails, man. But you're right. The mental game is like, yeah, we were making it harder than it needs to be, but damn, is it fun?
It's so fun.
It's
You're
fun.
never ever gonna have it figured out either.
I was gonna say,
Are
as
you?
soon as you think you have them figured out, they're like, see ya.
But there's no, like we said this earlier, there's no absolutes in whitetail. Well, there's no absolutes in really any hunting, but especially like the whitetail game. Like, if someone's super arrogant and making very broad, generalized, cocky, committed statements, it's like, I can't really listen to you.
Right.
Because,
and every area is different.
yes,
Right. So
yes.
I live in New Hampshire. I mean, I spend more days in Illinois than I do in New Hampshire. Statistically, the worst place to deer hunt in the entire country. Okay. So we have 64,000 deer hunters, and we have 30,000 deer. We have twice the number of hunters than we do deer. That's not Georgia. That's not Alabama, right? I mean,
May the odds be with you.
may the odds. So your expectation is, I'm not going to grow a 200-inch deer
In New
New
Hampshire.
Hampshire, right? Not that one freak doesn't pop up, but
right.
very, very rarely is a booner killed on an annual basis in the state of New Hampshire. I mean, what do we have? 3 on the farm last year?
3? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, last year.
Right.
3
So,
on the farm last year.
so you have to put things in perspective to what is possible.
And you probably grew up hunting New Hampshire, I'm assuming. That's where you cut
I
your
grew up
teeth.
in Maryland.
Grew up in Maryland. Yeah, because you had a big buck from Maryland. And I was kind of like, Maryland? And like, I didn't mean this to come off negative. I was like, wow, Maryland. Yeah, that's the state.
Super
And,
state.
Well, we I made the comment about observation because I think a lot of hunters today are not woodsmen,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They don't understand trees. They don't understand shrubs. They don't understand patterns of animals. I grew up hunting public land. So across the street from me was 3,700 acre reservoir as a bow hunting only. Okay, and of course you're going, you go back into the 80s for bow hunting. There weren't a lot of bow hunters.
Right.
And then I hunted George Washington National Forest with Straddles, Virginia, or West Virginia, which is 1 million acres of timber.
Wow.
You want to learn to be a good hunter? Have somebody drop you off, which my mentor did, and be like, okay, I'll see you at the end of the day. And we backpack in and we go spend 10 days in 1 million acres of timber.
It's not even fun driving through that forest.
No.
On the paved road.
Right.
No kidding.
Right. No motorized vehicles, no nothing. You learn to become a woodsman. And I think a lot of what we do now, because of electronics, takes away, the skill.
For sure. How long did you hunt in that area? How many years did you kind of like cut your teeth on?
10 years.
Really?
10 years.
Did you see a lot of deer? Did you kill a lot of deer? Like, what was like?
So so there were 4 of us that hunted together, and normally we would take 1 or 2 deer between the 4 of us. Mm-hmm. And a good 10-day run, we'd probably see 6 or 7 deer.
No kidding. So at that time, were you guys shooting bucks, or was it just does? Or
No,
were you
just
lucky?
bucks.
Just buck. It was just bucks. Like, what kind of buck would come out of that area, that solid timber type
You
area?
know, a 120 was a big deer.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Was a big deer.
yeah. That's really interesting. I just like kind of. There's on my agenda to get to some of this, but I just like we're kind of all over, but it's all right. Yeah, I just find that interesting.
Yeah, because I feel like if you drop me off in that right now, like we'd probably figure it out, but I'd be lost for
there'd be a
4 or 5 days. I bet
It'd be a hard kick in the.
it'd be a very hard transition.
Yeah, we'd be like,
But you know what? The principles are the same.
Right.
So when you get into big timber, yes, it's daunting, it's overwhelming, but then you start to see patterns form. And with those patterns you see are, okay, here's a greenbrier thicket right here, and here's a line of deciduous trees. Oh, geez, I have an edge. Or here's a saddle, right, where these deer use topography to get to it. I mean, it all still comes down to food, cover, water, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously safety.
They're going to need it eventually.
Right. The beauty, the advantage I had was it had very little. I never, in the 10 years I hunted, I never saw another human being.
wow.
Never saw another hunter.
The hunting was that good there, hey?
It,
Must have been awesome.
but
It's also a million acres.
But the reason I say that is the wildlife did what the wildlife does.
Right.
So I wasn't hunting other hunters. I was trying to understand why wildlife does what wildlife does. And then once you start finding the tracks and finding where they bet, you just put those pieces together.
Yeah.
Then when you go to the Midwest, you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that so fascinating.
It is.
All right, you mentioned something too. This is also in my list. Edges.
Mm-hmm.
Edges got talked about a lot today, and I use the term.
Rob's got to tell his story of his clover brassica edges.
I want him to, and I love that story. I'm just like, whoa, really? But I always say I use the term fringes. I probably should start using the term edges because it applies. Edges spreads further than fringes, I think. Because what you were talking about, Rob, is not a fringe; it's an edge.
Yeah, it's just, it's a hard line or a hard edge.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were sitting in a grizzly blind one night just because the wind wasn't right. And we're sitting there watching these deer, and it was a 6-acre clover field. And I took 2 acres on the west side of it, and I ran a tiller right through the mowed clover and put a bunch of last stand in there.
Missed it. What kind of clover was it?
What is it, Daryl? Oh, it's foundation.
Okay.
That's right.
I'm sitting right here. He's sitting across from me. Come on.
Well, I thought you were sleeping over there.
No, I'm good.
He's tired.
Take a dry shot of Ignite, Joe, for the people. The WCB community would want you to take a dry shot of Ignite.
I'll be back. I'm going to get some water to get it Ignite. Keep him in line, please.
you did need it.
I'm going to go do it.
Okay. Bless your heart, Joe. Bless your heart, Joe.
Keep going. Keep going.
Welcome to
Don't
Working
worry, it
Class
wasn't
Mo.
like Antler King or anything. So,
I love it. Name dropping competitors.
yeah.
Just to piss him off.
Hey, you know what? We're honest here at the Working Class Bo.
right.
Well, maybe that's why I tilled it up. But
Okay,
so
let's stop it right here.
yeah, right.
Everybody, cut it out. I love it.
So I run the tiller and I make this line, and I actually made the line to connect to 2 stands.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And just because in past experiences I've seen deer use these edges, and everybody thinks, well, an edge is a tree line or border line or something, and I've seen where you don't, literally a line in the sand is enough. So we ran this edge, and we had a drought last year, so our food plot struggled. I mean, we only have brassicas that were 2-3 inches tall. And we were sitting in the blind and we're watching these deer come, and they're feeding through the clover, right? And this section's about 4 acres, so it's a big clover field. Mm-hmm. And they literally hit this edge where it was tilled. And I mean, I'm not kidding, and he can back it up. They literally turn and go either north or south, and they walk that tilled
edge.
line. like there was an electric fence there. And
Like there's
all
an
it was
invisible
literally
fence.
it was a transition. I mean, like the brassicas are up like 2 inches and the clover's probably an inch.
Yeah.
But it was, to them, it was a line or an edge.
It's just enough to make them.
Right. And it wasn't just one, it was over and over. And then we would see a deer come out on the north side of the field, and it would walk the tree line down until it got to that tilled edge, and it would walk right down to us.
That's really
It's
interesting.
crazy.
It is crazy. A little
It's
bit.
insane.
You know? Well, I know they're fringe animals. And I think that's interesting. Like finding what could work as a fringe or an edge, and like big timber, like you mentioned. Because I know a lot of listeners. We have a lot of people right in that hunt big timber tracks, and I find that interesting. It's like, yeah, you're looking for terrain features in something that doesn't seem like there's a lot of terrain, or maybe there is, but you have to like kind of more pinpoint it because it's not like an opening and a gate pinch point or a fence line edge. You know what I mean? I just find that interesting. It's like,
It can be so subtle.
yeah,
So
so how
subtle.
to look for the subtleness of
Right.
like what can be, I guess, terrain
Right.
that affects deer movement, right? I guess if it
I
affects
mean,
deer
it can
movement,
be. It can be one tree species to another.
really.
You know, like, I mean, we've got a lot of like bush honeysuckle or autumn olive or Russian olive, whatever you want to call it here. And it could be, you know, like in a nice hardwood stand, oaks, black walnut, and all of a sudden there's a handful of bush honeysuckle just kind of lined up, and they'll use that edge. Mm-hmm. And it's
Here's a great analogy. I think anybody who's managed property will understand. And I showed you guys this here to a little degree. When you go log a property, they have to create skidder trails, right? They got to create roads through your timber to go pull the trees out.
Right.
If you hang a camera on that road, you'll get the deer. Would you have hung that camera on that tree prior to logging?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Nope.
Damn it, you guys are good.
Because you artificially created
Created a line.
a travel corridor that their brain. So now I'm going to put it in Kurt terms,
Okay,
Yeah.
please do.
right? So
gentle.
so when we went
Yeah,
over,
be gentle.
Yeah.
My fragile brain.
Hey, you gotta remember, we're still on dial up. You're over here on freaking fiber already.
You're over here on Elon Musk, whatever the hell he's
Starlink,
got.
yeah.
yeah,
so,
Neuralink.
so that Helgermite's getting inside your ear right now.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So when we went over to Savannah's Cove and Joe was running the tiller, and you're like, God, that's so satisfying to
Yeah.
watch. Why was it satisfying?
Because the lines, yeah, it makes your brain happy.
Makes your brain happy.
You think it makes deer's brains happy when they see a line?
It's they're animals of pattern. So in a way, yes.
For sure makes their brains happy.
Right.
If it makes my brain that happy, then deer are
Definitely
like,
makes it
damn,
happy.
that looks good.
I mean, look at how many. There was like 8 people standing there today, and we're all watching a tractor go 2 miles an hour with dust boiling out everywhere, and everybody's just like staring at the lines and the dimples the cultipacker's
Yeah.
making. Where I was like,
yeah, it's like you're
It
just
is
a bunch
so
of nerds.
satisfying.
I know.
right.
All right. So let's say we have a big soybean field.
Okay.
Okay. Late season. You know, we 2 acres, 3 acres, and we're bow hunting. Mm-hmm. How do I get that deer in front of me?
A big soybean field.
Right. So I got a 2 acre soybean field bought from the farmer. I planted. How do I get that deer within bow range late season?
You could create an edge by mowing through it.
Mow to your stand.
You got it. Wow. You just answered your own question.
I need a buzzer. Nice.
But see how the thought process works. Like
Yeah.
once you get keyed on, once you observe something, and then you try to problem solve, saying, "Oh my gosh, they're always coming out. I don't know whether they're coming out of the east side or the west side. Depends on the wind. How am I going to get them? They're not within bow range. Oh, I just manipulate it.
So I'm glad I answered that right. But I also
Were you scared that you weren't?
well, no, I was trying to see like if he was trying to get me to answer a certain way or not. I got my own head like you do on a scan. If there wasn't a Scantron on test, I would have still failed. But that doesn't matter. Let's talk about something else. But I'm kidding. But I do that, I think. But I guess I didn't think about it in the deeper level. Like my buck brunch plot that I put in yesterday morning I have from the west side, I have an entryway that I tilled in to the southwest corner of the plot, and then I have it's still, I call it the exit, but it could be an entryway too, on the other side, on the southeast side of the plot that comes out towards one of my stands that I'm gonna hunt on the correct wind, and so I'm hunting off the plot, and I'm hunting off the plot on artificial edges that I made.
Yep.
And I guess I knew what I was doing, but I didn't think about it almost in the level up that I probably should have been.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it for me is, I think a lot of guys are scared to admit this, and hunting in general, is I will always admit that guess and check is how I've gotten my results in deer hunting.
Oh, yeah.
And I think a lot of people probably don't want to admit that they don't know, then they're guessing to see the result, which is what you should do probably. But I guess and check. That's how I deer hunt. And so I guess I was guessing, checking, but not realizing, oh, I'm creating artificial edges here.
But instinctively, you knew what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, based off of being on the ground and basing on your own observations, maybe you didn't process it in your head. But
It always sounds like a good idea.
yeah, but you were, I mean, another way to visually think about this, and again, kind of going old school, is if I want that, you'll appreciate this, Joe. So now we can get you.
Hit me.
If I want
Oh,
that
Joe's
deer
here? I didn't realize Joe
to
was
step
still
in
here.
that conibear trap,
Thank you for
okay?
this. Go ahead.
How do you do that? If I wanted an animal to step in a trap, how do I know where to put the trap?
You manipulate him to go over there.
Right. Or through observation, or
dump a bag of Big Tine
work
there.
with what.
Just saying.
At least somebody's paying attention.
Totally redeemed himself.
I totally gave you a softball, and you're like, huh? How would I do that?
You think he wants you to go deeper.
This is what he always does.
love
You're
it.
like,
He's
"Yeah,
looking for
guys,
I warned you guys about this
No,
earlier.
I will gladly seem like the dumbest dude in the room as long as we're podcast talking about fun shit. This is
Right.
great. No, I love it. It's the thought process of whitetails that's what makes it so damn fun.
Yep.
But yeah, it's like, okay, I know the edges I'm creating because I did that with like I was talking about. You had a really good set example of getting a deer to come out further. You extended your edge. So let's stay on that topic, and you put, I believe, switchgrass in this
Right,
example.
warm season grasses. Yep.
Warm season grasses. I did that with some consultation with Austin Chandler. So my plot last year, which was I think buck brunch in this spot, it's now main event this year. It was just a round bulby type shaped plot, and it went from that because deer would just mill out there and never get to my grizzly blind where I set it. Because where I set it's where I have it, because I have it on like 4x4s, whatever. So, all right, long story short, what we did is we elongated the plot so the deer moved past the blind instead of like feeding out. And then what was my plot, I took half of it and we drilled it in with borderline. So that borderline's like probably 6 foot tall right now. And the idea is that instead of cutting that natural edge where like the hedge and all that, junk and bush honeysuckles,
You created an edge.
I created a further edge. But I knew doing that what I was doing, but I just didn't think about it in the, I guess, technical terms of like, oh, I'm extending the edge to alter their movement. So it's like I'm doing it, and Austin helped me do that. But I guess I didn't think like a layer in further of like the real benefits that it's probably going to have for my plot this fall. Does that make sense? How I'm trying to explain it.
No, absolutely. It's, do you want to play checkers? Do you want to play chess?
That's right.
Right. So once you learn how to play chess with deer, there are times that you move and there are times you get your opponent to move, and you just have to decide who's playing what hand.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's what I kind of did too. And so if I have a big oval acre plot, well, this year, right where my blind is, right down the center, I played a borderline. So now it's 2 half-acre plots. Instead of having them meandering out in one big acre, why not split it up into 2?
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing that accomplishes is that deer can now, if he's on the east side, let's just say it's an oval,
Yep.
east to west. If he's over in the timber on the east side, he can stand in the timber and he can see every deer that's in that plot.
Yep.
Now by putting that line down the middle,
He's gotta
that
come through to
forces
look
him
at
to
it.
either come out in the plot, or it forces him to come out of his comfort zone and come around maybe with the wind at his back and then all of a sudden you see him. Now you know he's there.
Yep.
You know, I mean, how easy would it be for him to be 60 yards back in the timber? You never know he's there, but he can see everything that's
In an
going on
acre
out
plot.
there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how many times have you guys had a guest in your 587 podcast?
In there somewhere, yeah.
In there, right? A lot,
We're,
right?
we're losing track on how to
That
even count.
somebody says, "Oh, you know, what do you plant, man? I plant my greens next to my greens." We've all heard that, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think it works? You created a transition.
Yeah, yeah. You give
It
them
wasn't.
both.
It wasn't that one was better than the other, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
wasn't that, oh my gosh, I created this magical buffet.
Yeah.
It's no, you just created a transition point.
Yeah, another thing too, like talking about that, like how you plant. You mentioned something. Your more inner plot was a different blend from Big Tine versus
Correct.
your outer plot, because as the season moves on and food becomes more sparse, it moves the deer into the center of your farm.
Right. So the later the season gets, and I want to consolidate my deer into areas, I'm going to plant main event. Right, because the main event, which I mean, it's a great year-round blend, but where it really shines is towards the back half of the season, right? So if you go take lockdown, and I'm planting that on the outside, when that starts to term out, when they start to eat that down, then they're going to go shift more to the main event. So it's just not what's going to grow here or how much forage is it going to provide. It's when do I want to hunt these deer and where? And I think a lot of people, they don't think about the season. You know, in the Midwest, it's pretty long. October 1st to January.
Mid-January. or
Mid-January,
so.
right?
Yeah.
So there's 13 phases, right?
Yeah, there's 13 phases. Yeah, I like what you did there. Shout out to Mark and Terry.
Yeah. So whatever number of phases there are, there's definitely a transition pattern that occurs in them, and so you need to provide for them during that entire spectrum. Take it another step, you need to provide 365. These deer always need to eat.
Just like us.
There's a red dot on that camera.
Yep.
I'm always paranoid because I can't see that far.
Yeah, it's recording.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks. I'm always worried about it. But no, it's great. It's great to think about that stuff, and appreciate the jury shout out. It's just, it's stuff that it makes so much sense, but you don't think about it until it kind of gets put into your brain like that. Like, does that make sense?
So take your piece, right? Because I think your 40 acres is new enough in your brain, which you already shot 150-inch 8-pointer on it, right? So it's not that new.
Yeah, I'm happy. Okay,
Right.
Yeah.
Are those deer going to stay on your farm all year long, or are they going to have to leave your farm in any given period because you're not providing something to them? So
They're for sure going to leave, yes. And I know what I can provide. It's grains for sure, and a lot of other stuff too. And it'll evolve over time probably in my thought process. Like, shit, they need this. They need this. And yeah, that's the fun of it. Like, I think some people might be like, man, that's a lot of work. But you fall in love with the other process. Like, kind of where you kind of explain to the, you know, some people just go out nonchalantly and just want to shoot a deer and whatever, they don't care. But you fall in love with the process of all this, like the strategy, the nerding out, the farm equipment. Like, it's all like a circle. So, yeah, you got to love it for sure. But yeah, definitely, I'm going to evolve with that and be like, okay, I need to try this or do this. Like, I hunted it last year when I would consider it as raw. I got it as is. I didn't have a lot of time to do much with it. And really my objective was going into it, I don't want to do anything yet and not understanding how the deer are naturally using it. And that was my thought going in. And I talked to Joe about this too. And it's nice because in Illinois, it's so political. For me, properties I have, it's like, I don't get to take people on the properties I hunt because it's just you and you only sign this way, you know, that type of politics. But on my farm, I can take anybody I want with me and get second opinions. And I've had Lee and Austin out there. Doug and Eric haven't been out there yet. We got to make a point, just go look at it. It's close enough. And they're both like, that's where you could put your plot. And it's just like center of my farm where I think the deer spend a lot of the time, the way it lays out. And that's where I put my buck brunch plot this year. I mowed in a plot, sprayed it, tilled it up yesterday. And I'm like, wow. Like this is just like satisfying.
It's so satisfying when you.
Yeah, and I took
When you roll
our
over
good
it.
friend Andy Bushak out there with me, helped me do all that, seeded it and all that stuff. And we pulled in there because it's kind of hidden, it's secluded in its own spot. I watched him go, dude, this is pretty awesome. And I'm like, okay, that I feel extra good now watching his reaction of like, I've already had it mapped in and kind of hardened in my edges of my plot, and to see him, a guy who's a big buck killer and experienced hunter, be like, yeah, I think this is going to be good. We're making bets. I'm not making a bet with you on this one.
Well, the other thing you can do with that buck branch is add some foundation clover with it when you plant it. That seed's going to hang out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's if we get a good fall that's got some moisture and a little bit of humidity, that clover's going to germinate a little bit. You're probably not going to see it because it's going to be shadowed out by the brassicas and everything else. But come spring, it's there.
First thing to pop.
Ooh.
And then,
No kidding.
and then it's there all summer long. I mean, we do that with all of our fall plots.
We never heard this before.
At the very least,
Oh, man.
at the
Look
very
at it there.
least, you can go back out in the spring or early, late winter and frost seed.
right.
Yep.
Frost seed.
It's so it's waiting. You know, to
Yeah.
Rob's point, I think to me, if it takes adequate moisture, but starting any perennial plot is the best time is the fall, so that you've got an established plant going, and then
Oh.
when you it's frost seeding, you're still relying on it to start from seed, so it's starting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got to hurry up and try to run before you get to the dog days of summer, and hopefully you've got
Oh,
a
okay.
root. But like to Rob's point, if you plant it in the fall with some type of nurse crop, whether it's buck brunch, whether it's brassicas, whether it's oats or
Yeah.
wheat or whatever, now you've got it's already ready.
So
Right.
would
It's already
I
established.
should I?
Yeah.
Because I for sure want to do that. Would I wait for that buck brunch to start growing first, or could I just go
I'd
now?
put it in right now.
Okay.
I put it in
I
right now,
will- I will do-
or like in the next week, you see a rain coming, just get out before it and just broadcast it, and it'll just
okay.
hang out there.
But you could mix
okay.
it right in with the buck
I mean,
brunch
I
and
do.
spread it with it.
I do.
Let me ask you guys this. So I'm curious on this because I thought about doing this, but I was unsure. And Austin might have put a bug in my ear here, and I don't know. I'm not saying that he's wrong, but it's something to consider. So I have like paths around what the program my farm is in, and there's a path there just south of where my plot is that runs the whole north border of my farm, and I wanted to just do that whole thing in clover.
Yes.
But so I wanted to do that, and I love that direct answer because
Yes.
that's what I want to hear. But I was told that, well, you're giving them so much food that you're going to not be able to concentrate them to the plot you're wanting to hunt when they could be feeding down that row on the west end when you're on the east end, when you want to get them to focus
Yes
on the
and
plot.
no, but the stuff you're planting in your plot is going to be better, more palatable at that time of the year.
Okay.
Just
but-
like Greg said, they'll travel 3 miles to get to the better.
right.
But
Okay.
but also,
food.
what are your goals?
I want as much food as possible on my farm is my thought with that.
So no. Your goal was probably you want the deer's time to be the highest percentage on your farm and not your neighbors.
That too. That I guess that ties into the same thing for sure.
Right. So do you remember our story about the racetrack?
Yeah, yes. and that's what got me thinking about this because it would be a way different structure but similar concept.
Right. But
Yeah.
we just on the west side of the farm we have 6 miles of foundation clover. That's 20 feet wide. 6 miles of edge all the way around. So yes, the deer can come in and out of the woods and they can get what they want. So in Illinois we have one arm tied behind our back.
Yes.
Right, because we cannot provide mineral and we cannot supplemental feed, so we are at a disadvantage. And that we can have that conversation on and on and on, and would love to understand the powers that be here that don't understand how to manage wildlife,
Yeah.
like other progressive states. But so therefore, to counteract that, we have to plant something, right, that helps provide proper nutrition year round, or multiple things, and habitat improvement, because we can't supplement. We can't artificially make up for what Mother Nature doesn't provide. So we got to go figure out what to do. And clover's king.
All right. Well, you know
Hey,
what?
you heard it here first, people.
I'm gonna need some clover,
Second.
guys.
And like I mean, Daryl will probably back this up. On those roads and those trails, use their Clover Select. Mm-hmm. It's got a little chicory in it, right? Give
Yeah.
them a variety.
Yeah.
Give them a variety. I mean, all of our
Golden
grain
Corral.
plots, right? I mean, yeah, we do a ton. I mean, what did we put in the last couple of days? Like close to 30 acres of fall plots.
32, 33.
You know, I mean, that's a lot of fall plots, and we still have a handful left.
Okay.
In those unmarked bags that Daryl won't tell us what's in it, we still have to put some of that in.
Secret
We're just
seed.
waiting for a little better conditions. But
Yeah.
even our bean plots and our corn plots, they have a 20-foot ring of clover around them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll watch every. I mean, literally, you can come out to the farm this fall and sit in a blind and watch. Almost every deer will come out of the timber, and they will eat in that clover first, for a while. They'll come out in the grain, and almost all of them, when they exit, will grab a couple mouthfuls of that clover, and back in the timber they go.
Damn it, you're selling me pretty easily on this one, boys. I don't know what arm twisted. So let me ask you this: I'm gonna do that front row and clover. What should I till that whole row and and seed it and cultipack it and all that with the clover, or like is that something I could just broadcast, like you said, this winter or this fall on that? Because it's pretty.
Well, you've already. You talking about a new stand, or are you talking about where you put the butt brush?
The path,
The path.
the north path. Like, would you
would
till
work
that
it
all up?
I'm gonna say if it's a path, you've probably been driving on it and so on, so it's probably compacted and all.
Yeah.
So the better the seed bed, the better germ and stands you're gonna get. So yeah, I would.
Maybe
It doesn't have to be burying your disc,
Yeah.
but you need to get it down a few inches. So that clover, clover's a perennial, so it's not gonna have the energy coming out of germ that an annual will, because it's gonna be, marathon runner versus sprinter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be, spending as much time developing roots as it is, which is why you're not, to Rob's point a while ago, you're not going to just get this boom,
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially on the perennial components of the foundation. So yeah, I mean, the better the seed bed, the better
off, yeah.
opportunity you're giving that seed for success.
Very cool. Yeah, I just got to realize how enjoyable tilling is because I just upgraded tractors, and I went from like a 20-horse tractor with a tiller that just rattled me off the damn thing to a 35-horse tractor with a good, name brand bush hog tiller, and I'm like, all right, here we go, and I put the tiller down the dirt. And I'm like,
Is he even running?
this is quite enjoyable. This is a different experience than I had last year.
So fun.
So yeah, I'm just like looking for stuff to till, I guess. Let's go.
So why is clover king?
Because I gotta not think too deep about this, because everything eats it, and it's easy to grow, and it comes back, and Daryl likes it. What's the right answer?
Daryl told me to plant it, so that means it's good.
It is 365 days a year of food.
Okay.
But let's go deeper of why.
Okay.
So if I plant an oat, right, or if I plant a corn or I plant a bean, okay, it has one cycle. It times out. That oat matures. That animal eats the oat. Okay, we're done. The beauty of clover is it's regenerative. So one of the keys to have a great clover stand, one of the keys to keep deer coming to it, is you got to promote tissue growth. You got to mow it.
Tonnage and
Right. So
Creating,
so the more frequently you mow it, okay, number one, you can reseed itself too, right? You go let 30% of your plot start to
it spreads by rhizome, so you've got a double, benefit there of how it can expand itself.
correct. But it's that new tissue growth that they're attracted to. A lot of guys will have clover, but they won't go mow it. They won't maintain it. Now, there's certain times a year, obviously, it's drought conditions now, so you don't want to set the plant back. But in good growing conditions, you have 365 days if you properly maintain it. So that tissue growth, when it's growing, it has its highest value of protein at that time. And the deer, and it's the most palatable and digestive to the animal.
Okay, when you mow your clover, I've always wondered this because this is how I have a small clover plot, and the famous mud seeding plot that you sent me a new seeder over because I'm an idiot.
I was embarrassed.
You were embarrassed for me.
Yeah, I bought you a cedar for it.
It worked in my benefit.
It
I thought-
worked.
I thought it
But
was
to
great.
Greg's point, way earlier in the podcast, think about the laughs and the joy. I don't know how the plot ended up turning out.
Amazing. I could
Think
fall in
about
it and
the
then
laughs
push in
and
my
the
blood.
joy
Freaking
that
awesome.
you got out of it. It was not perfect. It was not proper.
Yeah.
Nothing was right about it. But you still got a plot. You're still talking about it today. You're still laughing about it today. So
Yeah.
it's just constant fun and joy and
Yeah.
For
you know,
sure.
that it's and memories that you've made
100%.
over something you didn't even get right.
I actually killed my biggest buck ever in that plot.
That makes me happy.
But
I remember those calls though, because you're like, dude, it's not frosted. It's not. I was like, just get it in the ground.
yeah, it's just mud, you know.
Just
like-
throw it in.
So when I go in, so it did grow up, but it surprised me because I'm like, you could trust fall into that clover, and it would catch you. That's how thick it is, you know. And I go in there when I mow it, I'm like, oh, I'll pull my mower way up and just mow like the tops, everything off. Okay, so when you mow clover, how are you supposed to mow clover? Because I can't be the only dude listening that is really wondering how the hell are you supposed to mow your clover plots?
Okay, this is what works for us on our farm.
Okay,
When we're having normal moisture, okay, I'm mowing every 7 to 10 days. And this will get in an argument with the guys that say, oh, you got to let it get up. Now you got tonnage. Okay. We've done studies with cameras, and I told you guys about this earlier. Literally put 4 Reconyx cameras on video and cross shoot it to watch what the deer do. And when it's mowed tight every time, and if it's normal moisture where I know it's going to rebound, because clover literally will outpower anything.
Mm-hmm.
I drop the bat wing as low as it'll go to where I'm not digging the dirt.
okay.
Yeah,
So I
scalping
mean,
it.
it's short because it suppresses the grass, it suppresses the weeds. So if I can suppress that stuff and I don't have to spray it, because I also notice when I have to spray it, the deer tend to stay out of it for 2-3 days because it doesn't taste good.
Right.
So if it's normal moisture here, I'm mowing every 7 to 10 days, and I'm mowing it short.
Wow. Okay.
And when we did these tests, you know, because Greg actually asked me, he's like, man, do you think we're mowing too much? And this is the stuff we go back and forth all the time on the farm. Like, he's like always in control and asking me, and we're bouncing stuff back and forth. And I said, well, let's find out.
Mm-hmm.
So I mowed it, put a camera on it, and we're watching it. And all through that first bit after that mowing, when that clover was growing, the deer were just flocking to it, and their heads literally never come up because they're eating, especially in the spring when the does are lactating. And I mean, you want them having the best food then because it's healthier fawns.
Of course, yeah.
And then as that clover was growing and getting higher and higher and higher, it's getting a little more fibrous. The deer numbers dropped by about 70% in that plot.
Whoa.
They were going somewhere else to eat. And the deer that were walking through were just kind of maybe grab something
nibbling
here
a little bit.
and just something here. And it's like, oh, man.
Dude, I gotta go. I gotta mow my clover.
You got to go mow your clover.
That's how I feel right now.
So, I mean, this went over. I mean, we literally did this for like 2 years. And then, you know, all of a sudden I go back in and I mow it. And you watch the cameras, and like that, the deer are back in it. And every one of them, their heads are down. And I mean, I got videos and pictures
so
where there's
dumb.
like 10 to 12 deer in the picture at one time, and they're all eating it. And it's like, okay, well, maybe it was like an anomaly. Let's
Yeah.
go to another clover plot.
Yeah.
Let's try it there. Same thing. So,
Wow.
you know, yeah, I mean, there is that argument that if you let it grow and it gets to be a foot tall, which their clover will do,
Yeah.
and flower out. I mean, it's crazy. Like you said, you look like you could swan dive into it.
Yeah, you can trust fall that clover. It'll catch you.
Yeah.
You can
It'll
trust
catch
it.
But you know what?
We're
What
changing the
good?
name.
What good is having all that tonnage if they're not eating it?
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. Damn. Well, guess what I'm doing?
God, we're learning a lot of shit today.
I love
So,
this, man.
so Darryl, I have a question for you. So this is a thought that I've had, but I don't know scientifically if this actually happens. When you mow, so if you have an established clover plot, okay, so you have a very good interlocked, seed system out there, root system for the clover. When you mow it, does the clover feel like it has to rebound or recover? Like it grows faster because you set it back, so it feels it's got to grow.
Yeah, I mean that's a survivability. I mean it's a survival technique that it's got to get back up. Obviously.
So the rate of growth is higher based off of mowing because the survival, you set it back. Survival, you set it back because those roots are established.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as there's obviously adequate moisture and you know,
Right.
your
Moisture.
fertility,
That was the
matters.
key that Rob touched on. Like, you can't just go out there and scalp it.
Mowing a
when we're
drought.
in a drought.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
I mean, what did we say? We've had 14 inches of rain here since January 1st. I've got clover plots, and like I said, now I normally mow every 7 to 10 days. I have clover plots that I've mowed one time this year.
Ooh.
Because if you mow it, it's so delicate right now, it'll literally smoke it.
It'll
So at least
kill it
now,
off.
you know, the deer aren't pounding it like normal, right? I mean, they're just spread out, just trying to find anything they can find with moisture in it right now. I mean, it's so dry. But it's so delicate.
Yeah.
But I mean, man, when we got a normal year, I mean, the protein in the food they're getting,
Yeah.
it's epic.
Man, I'm
Well, Greg, to your
Learned a
to
lot
that
here.
question too. I mean, if you're keeping it cut
So
as
much.
frequently as what Rob's talking about, you know, there is a level of you can somewhat train a plant if you just keep cutting it low. It's gonna, you know, grass is the same way. You're gonna start. It's gonna start going this way because you're you know. It's kind of like, well, you keep suppressing me this way.
Right.
I gotta. I'm here to grow, so I'm gonna go this way.
Right.
But I think the main reason that, you know, to Rob's point is, you know, is it the height growth that you want to see the truss fall clover, or do you want to see the new growth that's the most palatable that they're going to get the most out of? And, you know, we talked about this a lot this week, as far as, you know, talking to Frank about it and stuff like that, trying to explain to him about, you know, how they like the, you know, and one of the easiest comparisons to me, at least in my brain, is you think about deer going out in a soybean field. They're nipping the tops. They're not
Yep.
eating down,
Yep.
you know, at the bottom.
Yeah, the newest tissue.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they like. They
yeah,
like tender
yeah.
growth. Just like browse in the woods. You know, you guys went into your kind of cutout place today, and you were explaining about how much food is here now that's natural browse and that kind of stuff. Well, as a, you know, especially in a droughty year like this year, the spring, you'll get a lot of pressure off of your plots because there's so much food, tender buds and stuff. So the deer have got a lot of natural browse. So it'll allow your clover to jump. It'll allow, you know, things like that, and you can kind of get some maturity on your clover, especially if it's a new plot, before you get into the, you know, worst times of the year.
Yeah.
But as that forage moves on through the year, it's going to become more fibrous. It's going to become more woody. Another reason why you don't, you know, you hear us say that don't plant your plots too early, because then by the time that it's go time, when you really are trying to hunt them and you want them in your plots, well, now you've got tougher, fibrous plants, like Rob said a while ago. This clover's not going to, it's just not, will they eat it? Yeah, at the same rate? Probably not, because it's not, you know, as palatable. It's not as soft. It's not, you know, it's not going to have the same, when it's, you know, when it starts sending off flowers, all the energy of that plant and the leaves is holding all the water. It's going to go, I mean, think about it when you pick a clover out of the field and you lay it down, come back 5 minutes later and it's nothing.
Right.
You know,
Shriveled
it
up.
shows you how much moisture is in that, the leaf in the stem of that plant. And when it goes to, you know, when you, if you're letting it grow up and you're not keeping it mowed, you know, it's going to go to flower. So now you're taking the energy out of the plant, put it in the flower. So it's even going to be less palatable to the deer, because you're not going to have the leaf structure. You're not going to have big fat leaves. You know, you're going to have, I mean, you can literally go out there and look at a clover that's got a flower on it, and you can see the, I was showing Frank some brassica plants yesterday and chicory plants over at the barn that where we're working. And you could say a chicory plant, and it was really the best example I've been able to show him. Ones that had shot up and, you know, were flowering, you know, trying to seed. The leaves, you know what a chicory, I mean, it can be as wide as your hand, and it was about like that, or smaller. But then there might be a plant right, you know, a foot over that hadn't gone, and it's that big, fat, nice leaf. So I mean, you know, there's a lot of factors that are taking the palatability down. You know, there's some arguments about whether it takes the nutrition value down, and, we talked about that, and I don't really want to get into that just because it might touch.
Oh,
on
we can
some
talk
people.
for hours on clover alone.
So,
Yeah.
but, there's a
Moral of the
method-
story: Clover's king.
it is king.
It
There's
is,
a
as
method
long
to the
as-
madness of new growth, and if you're, to like Greg's been saying the whole time, don't give your deer a reason to go somewhere else and have to look.
Right.
Yeah.
The biggest thing with the clover is making sure your lime or your pH is on point.
Yeah.
Because if your pH is off, it doesn't taste good to them, and it's not pulling it's not pulling the nutrients out of the soil. I mean, we're spreading lime. I mean, shoot, there's one farm we put 100 ton of lime out this year. I mean, granted, there were some egg fields and everything else, but I
Right.
mean, 100 ton of egg lime. Just because the soil needed it, right? I mean, doing soil tests and making sure the clover's fertilized.
Yeah.
Because back to Greg's point, we can't put feed or mineral out. So our plants have to be as healthy as possible.
Yeah.
Because that's where our deer are getting the nutrients from.
Yep.
And probably something we don't say enough is how lime and proper soil conditions does affect the palatability. People always hear us, and you'll read comments on social media like, oh, let me guess, you want me to do a soil test and all. Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to tell you to do that because one, it's the proper way to do it. Two, we want you to it's going to help you get the best shot to establish a plot and actually grow a plot. But there is that next level of, it's not just to get to grow your plot, because people, I didn't do a soil test and I just threw it out there and it grew. It grew. Frank showed me a clover plot at his house. It is wherever his farm is here in Illinois, and it looks beautiful. I know what his soil test he just pulled on it was, and it was a 5. Looking at that plot, you wouldn't have known it. But I promise you that the plants aren't as palatable as Rob and Greg's that have sweet soil.
Back to what can you do to keep the deer on your farm? And
I need to get on that soil test.
And
Only Joe's only
I'll
been pushing that down our
guarantee
throat for
I'll
10
guarantee
years.
you my clover tastes better than yours.
Guaranteed it does, brother. I ain't gonna argue about that at all.
And mine's mowed.
Yeah, mine's over there. It's got trunks on it.
But you can trust fall into it.
Yeah, I can fall in it. Yeah,
Mine's still in the bag.
Hey, first off, at least I got a
Yeah,
clover
but you
plot.
can feed.
done anything wrong yet?
Not yet. No. Not till I get in the ground.
Hey, listen, I'm asking questions because I want to know, and I'm learning, and I'm going to make
We
changes.
gotta know.
I'm going to make changes. No, it's
I
all
feel like
great
an
info.
idiot.
I love all this. This is awesome. There's 2 big subject matters that I want to hit before we end this podcast, and one are these awesome antlers on this table, kind of shifting gears a little bit. But I don't know how I want to. We should probably do this first because the other one would be a good thing. I don't know. I don't know what to do
Is
right
the
now.
second thing the trout?
Oh, we didn't talk about the trout
The
yet.
trout is going to be like a PS of this episode.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Poor Joe and his trade show trout.
Trade show trout.
I'm just here to bring everybody together, man.
TST.
You know, I is it cool if I want to bring up something else before we talk about this, Buck?
Absolutely.
Okay. I really want to know, coming from New Hampshire, Maryland, hunting. You live in New Hampshire now,
Correct.
and being way out there, and then you have a farm in Illinois, and you're a legend in the outdoor industry. How did you get your start in the hunting industry? And I want you to bring it back to bring me back
All the way back?
all the way back.
All right.
From the beginning.
Because I feel like I just maybe on video or whatever you might just get a version of it, but I want how did it happen?
Ooh, now we're going to the way back time machine.
Yeah, if that's cool with you. I mean,
Absolutely. So I grew up. I'm fortunate when I was 10 years old. My parents moved from kind of the suburbs out to the country, and like I mentioned earlier, had the opportunity to have a reservoir across the street from us that was bow hunting only. But I was never into hunting. I was into Boy Scouts. I shot, bow and arrow at scout camp. I go dam up the creeks and catch crawfish and sell them to the local bait shop. But so I was big into the outdoors, but I wasn't into hunting. My next door neighbor, so when we moved out into the country, my next door neighbor, who was a former Marine, he was die-hard hunter. So my dad had done some small game hunting, but he didn't. My parents didn't hunt. Nobody in my family hunted. So my next door neighbor got me into hunting, which is pretty cool.
That's very
so
cool.
I killed my first deer with a bow at age 11.
Wow.
Yep, on my own, on a reservoir, public land, right? And to this day, I will swear I was aiming right behind the shoulder and I hit her in the back of the head. I don't know how that
This is how it works sometimes.
Right, I mean, broadhead literally came out between the eyes. So, but I got the bug for hunting early, enough so that, I made my own arrows. I crested my own arrows. Anything I could read, anywhere I could go, it was, again, going to George Washington National Forest, going to the Eastern Shore of Maryland, hunting sick deer growing up, and anything that I could do. Well, through that process, I started to get involved in trap shooting as well. Mm-hmm. Love guns, love shooting. So I started to compete, and I was relatively good. Mm-hmm. So fast forward to college. So go to college, and I go to college in Ohio. So my dad was from Cincinnati, Ohio, where he grew up. So I was outside of Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
We all know what Ohio means to the whitetail world, right?
Yeah.
Big whitetails.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not really why I went there, but I knew I wanted to be in the Midwest. I was still kind of close to family, but I was also in that realm of competitive shooting because the Grand American was out of Ohio. So I started to compete more, started a shooting team at my college, right? So got the funding, I went to Winchester and I went to all the, Remington and all these other companies, got them to donate supplies, to donate money. And, one of the people I made friends with, his name was Ken Berger at the time, and he was repping Hornady ammunition. Well, Hornady also made shot shell reloaders. So Hornady donated to the school a reloading press that we would, literally be reloading shotgun shells. Yeah. Not in the dorm. This is at the gun club.
Yeah.
In the dorm room. Hey, what are you guys doing out there? Nothing.
And, so I'm getting ready to graduate college. And throughout college, I was fortunate enough to, I spent 2 summers at the Olympic Training Center. So, I was on the,
high level.
At the high level, at the U.S. shooting team level.
That's awesome.
And so I'm getting ready to graduate college, and I asked Ken, I'm like, how do people get into this industry? How do they make money? Grant, I'm coming out with 2 degrees, one in economics and one in English. Mm-hmm. And he says, well, you should become a manufacturer's representative. I'm like, they didn't teach me that in college. What's that mean?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, you're kind of a sales guy. You got multiple lines. I'm like, okay. Who's the best? In the Maryland area where I grew up. And he said, GB Stump Associates. They're the best. They have Loophole, they have Maglite, they have Nosler, right? They have all these great lines. I'm like, great. Can I have his phone number? Call up George Stump. Hello, Mr. Stump. I'm Greg Rist. I would love to talk to you about, coming to work for your company. Ken Berger recommended me to you, He goes, oh, that's very nice. He, told me you may call, but we don't have any openings, so, congratulations on graduating college. Have a nice life.
Damn.
Right.
And I'm
reality.
Like, right. And I'm like, today is your lucky day. He goes, how do you figure that? So I said, because I'm going to take you to lunch. And he goes, you're going to take me to lunch? I said, yeah, I told you I grew up in Maryland. I went to school at Loyola. I'm 10 minutes from your office. I said, I want to come take you to lunch. He goes, well, I got a pretty busy day. I said, you busy tomorrow? And he goes, well, I got to look at my schedule. You busy next week? And he goes, where's this going? I said, because at some point you're not going to be busy. So let's just go to lunch. So we go to lunch and we have a great conversation. He explains how his business runs. And then he goes, well, like I told you, we don't have any openings and, good luck, kid. What do you, with your career and all this? And I said, well, eventually I'm going to come work for you one day. And he goes, well, how do you figure? I said, well, because I'm graduating college, at some point somebody's going to retire or die.
Yeah, hey,
it's the truth.
It's the truth.
Right, you're going to have a hole in your operation. And I said, you're going to pick up the phone and you're going to call me. He goes, okay. So I go down to Florida. I work in the printing business. My dad was in the printing business. So I go to Florida, work in the printing business, graveyard shift, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Been there.
Right?
Fun.
So every month I wrote him a letter saying, hey, Mr. Stump, here's where I'm at. I'm gaining these skill sets. I'm moving in the organization, 2 years later, phone rings. hey, Greg, this is GB, it's George Stump. And he said, are you still interested in coming to work for you? I said, have you been getting my letters? He goes, yeah, that's kind of why I'm calling. Great. He said, we just picked up Remington Arms. And I need a guy to work at the dealer level, stock and shells, working promotions. Are you interested? Great. Where do I have to move to? Pennsylvania. Not a problem.
On my way.
On my way. Right. Give my 2 weeks notice, pack up my little car, drive all the way from Florida up to Pennsylvania, and then just started working in the industries. I just loved it so much.
Yeah.
And literally like Ace Sporting Goods, out of just south of Pittsburgh. Go in there for the first promotion, got my little Remington uniform on, and I'm stocking shells and, selling guns and ammunition and just started work as a manufacturer, and then went from one territory to another territory and eventually moved to Ohio. So I had Ohio, Indiana, the eastern part of Illinois, and the northern part of Kentucky as a single guy.
You had some fun.
You're running.
So I go out for 3 weeks at a time, right? I'm staying at the houses, from the dealers I made friends with. I'm shooting trap. I'm deer hunting. I mean, it was a great life, but it was just something that I wanted to do, what I wanted to get into. And then, funny how the world kind of comes back around. I get a call from Bob Gustafson, who owned Thompson Center Arms, and said, hey, we're looking for a new sales manager. I've been talking to Ken Berger, who was their rep agency, who was the original guy who introduced me to George Stump. And he said, would you be interested in this job? I'm like, I kind of got a really good gig going on.
Yeah.
So thank you for calling. Well, he said, he flipped the story on me. Well,
I'll take you to lunch.
He said,
You busy next week?
Right, you really should come out and see the company and all this. So it took about 9 months, and eventually, I took a job at Thompson Center Arms, and then, that led to Smith & Wesson, led to Wildcom, led to television, and here we are today.
Wow.
That's a cool story, man.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Cool story.
So if you want something bad enough, you can work and get it.
Yeah, you'll get it.
It's kind
Especially
of
now, man.
kind of the American dream.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Persistent.
Passion takes you a long way, huh?
Yep, it does.
Persistence for sure.
Did you own Thompson Center at one time?
I did. Yep. So when Thompson Center, the two owners of Thompson Center, so Thompson Center was started by Warren Center and Ken Thompson. Mm-hmm. So Ken Thompson, Warren Center. Ken Thompson had a foundry. Warren Center was working for H&R, and he designed this interchangeable handgun, interchange barrels. So he went to H&R. H&R said, this thing would never sell, not interested in it. So Warren says, geez, I really think this is going to be popular. And you need an investment castings to make the receiver to be able to make the gun. So he found an investment company up in Rochester, New Hampshire, that Ken Thompson was running. Ken looked at that and goes, well, why don't we just start a gun company? Do it. So that was the Contender pistol.
Really?
Started a company in
No kidding.
1967 out of a dream. Literally built it in his basement out of a dream. And then once they built that, they had a product that did really well spring and summer. Like, oh, geez, we need to have a product that does really well in the fall. So they go design the Hawk and muzzleloader. And then by luck, by design, by great fortune, Jeremiah Johnson comes out and uses a Hawken rifle. And muzzle loading starts to take off. Then they start working on seasons and regulations. And
Great
so
movie.
then I put a private equity group together. And they purchased it. I had an ownership stake as well, and
Very cool.
sold it to Smith, and then went over to be president of their long gun division at Smith & Wesson for a few years, and here I am today.
That's so
Damn.
awesome, man.
It's hard work, man. That hustle, that's awesome.
And then he planted food plots with me for a week. Way to climb the ladder.
Yeah,
Just fell right back down.
I'm still climbing.
Joe and Daryl are at the top working class bow hunter. You've made it.
I made it. I finally made it in life.
But I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe might be right there, but Frank is coming up too.
Oh, dude.
Frank's coming up fast.
Dude.
Frank literally
Fast.
made the comment in the yard today or yesterday to Andy, Joe's brother. He says,
My brother's his assistant, by the way.
Oh,
Frank's
yeah.
assistant.
Social media assistant.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
and he said, if you know Frank, you'll appreciate this. And I'm kind of standing off to the side. I'm not in the conversation, but Frank, he he says it so I can hear it. And they were talking about, Frank's like, bro, I just love being, I'm just so excited. I'm learning, blah, blah, blah. He goes, there's only one freaking person at this company I got to get out of my way to get to the top. He's talking about I was like, I'm the last person.
He knew you were listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
But I mean, that's just Frank.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's definitely going to be an asset.
Frank is
Yeah.
Frank. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Passion takes
So
you a
glad
long
you guys
way,
scooped him up.
obviously.
Yeah.
I love that story, man. That is awesome. Like, if someone that is wanting to work in the hunting industry, if that doesn't motivate them, nothing can help them.
Yeah.
I mean,
and most of the people in this industry want to be in this industry. We work to be in this industry.
Yeah.
So it's a brotherhood.
Still must be nice,
For
right?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The thing I can tell you is he's still the same way. Like we can barely keep up with him on the farm.
I don't doubt that.
I mean, right there,
at all.
hanging the tree stands. Like he's pretty particular about the stands he sits in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty crazy.
I mean, you could tell today that one spot, he's like, why have we not cut that tree down?
Right.
Throws the side-by-side apart, grabs the chainsaw, and goes chop this tree down quick.
That did happen. I was like, should we go help him? We're like, nah. Let's just walk.
we'll watch.
You know what? You surround yourself with great people, great things happen.
I
100%.
1000%
Right.
believe that, and I believe it more the older I get.
Right.
It's like, I think it's like once you're distanced enough from high school, because you are forced to be around people you didn't always really want to be around. And as you get into your 30s and you kind of like structure things in your life, you control the people you want to be around. And I feel like it just increases the quality of your life when you have more control over it, or you know how to have more control over it, I guess.
Well, like-minded people, too.
Like-minded people. Like, I want to surround myself with people like us, everybody here in the studio. It's like, that's all I want to be around, because it makes me happy and it motivates me and it's healthy for my brain. If looking at cultipacker lines, that's what it is. It's like
See, it comes back to that.
Yeah, it makes my brain happy, and I like you guys. So let's talk about this big giant set of sheds on the table here, and I want to get into the nitty gritty on this deer.
So Rover.
Rover.
So the shed's on the table, 6.5-year-old deer that we called Rover. And as we drove around the farm, I kind of gave you little areas that he liked to.
I could go kill that buck this fall, right now. Knowing what I know now.
Yeah, you probably could.
I won't.
Yeah, you won't.
I won't. I promise.
Oh,
I
I
won't.
appreciate it.
You know,
Just call me.
I'll give you. Yeah, I'll come over. We'll have a beer or two. We'll talk about it. But okay, yeah, it was cool to get that to add to this story of this buck. Like, you were kind of laying out how much you knew, which.
Well, I mean,
awesome.
it's so we have history documented to 2 years old. So, in fact, we just today released a Joe and Daryl watched this morning a YouTube on Rover, and I gave the whole backstory. Right, I want people to learn through my experiences.
I'll link
my
that in
lessons.
the episode description of this.
Fantastic, and so it goes all the way back to 2 years old, and so we try to keep all the pictures of any deer that's pretty much a 120, 125 Pope and Young deer through everything. And you gotta remember, Rob and I are looking at 1 million pictures a year. 1 million. And half of those are videos.
It's a lot of time.
Right. And it's not right? Because everything, did they come in from the left? Did they come in from the right? How did they turn their head? I mean, you can learn something from all this information.
It's a study.
It's a study. So when he was 2, I didn't pay attention to him because he was a 80-inch 8-point, right? But there was another deer called the double main beam buck that I was paying attention to. And then when he was 3, he became this wide, 9-point. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, width always kind of captures your eye. And then when he was 4, he became special, right? Split brow, split brow, inline, split 4, inline point on the right, 20 inches wide at 4, right? In good mass.
Yeah, I think, was it 4 years old that I almost lost my life sitting in the blind with you and I scared you? Yeah, I think it was. That's a whole nother story.
And actually we saw Rover together the first time when he was 4 on the hoof hunting a deer called Apollo. So at that point, he had the freak gene. So when you see a deer like that, you want to try to. I personally believe, and there's a lot of other people in the industry, that 7.5 is the magic age in the Midwest. If you go down to Texas, they're going to tell you 9 or 10.
Whoa.
Okay, because hey, you're closer to the equator, you're further south. The deer don't have harsh winters.
You have less stress.
They have less stress, right? So, in the further north you go, it's the opposite effect. But in the Midwest, 7.5 seems to be peak. In fact, we were going through 9 lives today, right? And you were showing me pictures about what he looks like now at 10. And I asked him, like, well, when you go back, what was his best year?
It's about 7.
About 7.
7, yep.
God damn, you're sharp, dude. You remember that name of that book and everything. It's like, my hard drive's full. I got to do something.
Tried to empty the trash can again, didn't you?
I got crushed up Bush Light cans and kicked it around in
You
there.
got to clear the cache, right?
yeah. Anyway, just
so
you're punctual. It's great.
So when he at 4, you're like, how do we get him to 6 or 7? He was named Rover because he was everywhere.
Yep.
I mean, every camera blew up during the rut. So we had no control over this deer. But the older they get, the more they develop personalities, they develop patterns, and you can start understanding, do they like this food plot over that food plot? Do they like clover? Do they like corn? You can start figuring those out based off of your intel with terabytes of information.
Well, there was one day in the rut, I think when he was 4. I think that's when we named him, when he was 4. In one day, he circled the farm 3 times. He hit 13 trail cameras in one day. It's crazy.
Yeah.
He's just taunting you.
It's like, man, what's he doing over here? It's like, no, don't go over there. Like that. That's not a good neighbor to go in front of.
No.
Don't go on that side of the farm.
But what's interesting though, so here's kind of a story that hopefully people can get a piece of information out of. We talked earlier about this age pyramid, right? So the bottom of the pyramid are 1.5, right? 2.5, 3.5, and at the top are mature bucks. The top of the pyramid, 5.5 and older. So we on the home farm, we don't harvest any bucks until they're 5.5 years old. You have no idea what their genetic potential is. We've had deer go from 4 to 5 and grow 50 inches.
Yeah, it's insane.
You saw it, tips.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right?
that buck is awesome.
Right. So, when you get to that mature level, you have this Kamala Harris Venn diagram.
Yeah.
Oh boy!
Okay.
You just went there.
There it is.
Nice. That's what we're doing. Okay.
Right. So you have these mature bucks that have these intersecting areas, and the one story I told you between the mule deer buck and nosy, there was a definitive line. They wouldn't go there.
Yeah, that's very fascinating, actually.
Yeah, it's crazy. So Rover, despite him going everywhere, he preferred the north end of the property. As soon as we plucked Nosy out, he now slid to the center of the property. So it's not only what they prefer, food, cover, water, it's what slots are open.
Yeah. Where they can slide in.
Yeah.
Right? So when you the tough part about the state of Illinois is you have 2 deer tags, right? What do I use them for? So typically, I'll go after trophy deer in a management deer, an old bully buck, something of that nature.
They're always 8-pointers.
Right. And obviously my kids and my friends and Rob hunts, and Joe's great for management bucks. I mean,
So good.
Oh yeah. He's
That's right.
he the crazier, the uglier, the better.
The last one I shot on Greg's farm, we brought him back up to the cabin, and he just looked at him and goes, "Thank you so much."
Beautiful.
But they're holding a slot,
Yes.
right? So,
Yeah.
but when you take that slot out, assume all other factors stay the same, another mature buck's going to slide in. So I can start moving the pieces around on my own property by taking pieces off the table. I'm playing chess,
I love
You're
this.
playing chess.
right? I'm playing chess,
You're moving shit around.
right? So I just took your bishop, right? And your queen just moved into your bishop. So now I'm getting ready to take your
I
queen.
really don't know how to play the actual game of chess. So I have no idea
Yeah,
what
we
that
do,
means.
Eric.
But
yeah,
it
we
sounds
do.
good.
Yeah, we do.
Was that 2 years ago when I killed Hoosier 2? I think it was Hoosier 2, right?
Right.
We were talking about that today. Like, I was after a buck named Hoosier, and I'm sending Rob pictures. I think that's Hoosier. I think that's Hoosier. Yep, that's him. Shoot him. Dies right there. And we go up. Rob comes up. Daryl's like, "That's not Hoosier." Because Daryl was sitting with him. Rob comes up and goes, Oh yeah, that's Hoosier too. That's like his twin or something. But yeah,
It's
he
a
needs to
stunt
go
double.
there.
We have that quite a bit on the
But-
farm. Like some of the real bullies that we've been chasing for years.
Yeah, yeah.
They literally develop stunt doubles.
Just to like,
It's crazy.
yeah, take a fall for him.
But that being said, that buck needed to go, and you killed in that blind 2 weeks later, correct?
Correct.
On a buck that had not been in that location.
Correct.
Moved right
Yeah.
over
He
to it.
moved in
Perfect
right away.
example.
You're welcome, Greg.
Correct.
See, I always thought about that.
How do they know that that buck is gone?
Well, so here's how I was going with this, and we have this on video, so we can play this. Shoot, which is actually on the YouTube video, by the
Okay,
way.
okay.
So shoot nosy. Okay. And actually Mr. Powers was filming,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
By the way, so we should give another plug to Mountain Ops Shows about that
Code
time.
WCB at Mountain Ops. You can get the link in the episode description. Shout out to Jake Powers.
There we go.
Thank you.
So Jake was filming me, and great shot on Nosy, runs off, right? So we're celebrating the moment, and then Jake looks up. He's like, "Oh my God! Like that's the biggest deer I've ever seen in my life." In comes Rover. Okay, how did Rover know Nosy? He had to step on Nosy's body to get, because obviously we recovered Nosy. I don't know where he died. Ran out of the food plot, died in the ditch. Literally, Rover had to step over his body to come into that field.
And he usually was never over there because of the other deer.
Correct.
Yeah. Because that year you had Nosy there and the mule deer buck. So you had a 177 and a 184.
But that's how fast
Right
the
there.
dominance happen, right?
Do they smell it? Do they hear it?
Do they, or is this just always this like force field or pressure, right? And all of a sudden that pressure is relieved, and they go, "Oh, well now." So they're always like pushing the edge, and all of a sudden when there's nothing pushing back, he's like, "Oh, I want to be there. I want I want that main event," which is what he did.
'Cause I don't think you told this story either yet. But the one where you had one deer living over here, one over here, they never crossed each other.
Nope.
Yeah.
But one day they just happened to cross each other, and then you found the two broken main beams, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So
That story is so cool.
Right. So I mean, right, both of them got broken up at the same time, and where we found the broken pieces of their antlers would now became the definitive line. And again, with trail cameras, you can tell this stuff. Like it is what it is.
It was the respect line they laid down, pretty much.
It was a respect line.
Yeah, because I always wondered that too. It's like, I killed that buck on my little farm, and I knew he was the most mature buck using the farm. It's like, who moved in, It's like, or who's going to move in, or like, how long did it take for another buck to be there that I didn't know about, or whatever, It's like, yeah, how long does it take him? But yeah, it's like a respect field kind of fades out.
Well, I mean, what was it? How long after that deer you shot that deer and he was moving in? 20 minutes?
20 minutes? 15, 20 minutes?
There's got to be some sort of like, is it a smell?
A scent they put
Is
off
it-
when they die, or
Does it get kind
I
of
don't know.
like transferred through, if it does take more than that, through scrapes or something like that?
I think it's more. I think it's. We don't know, but my feeling is it's kind of like if you go into a bar and the one bully guy in the bar, right? You go in and you just like, I'm just gonna have my little seat back.
Yeah, that
here.
guy's really drunk and I don't feel like dealing with
Right,
him.
right.
Yeah.
So I think they know everything going on there. You cut one tree down, like the tree I got today. 10 deer already knew about that tree was down within an hour.
right?
They know everything.
Mm-hmm.
And what we think is big is not big to them. Like we can look at 500 acres and go, "Oh my God, 500 acres is big." 500 acres isn't big to them. They have all day to do nothing.
Right, yeah.
Except
they're just deer.
Yeah, they just walk around and look at trees. Is all they do.
Right. So they
That's a funny way to put that.
yeah. So
They
then
have all day to do nothing.
right. So Rover slid to the core, taking that chest piece off. So that was great. So now, okay, what do we? So I pursued Rover last year, 6.5. So which is his sheds
That's
now,
right.
right? Which is he has 183 and change with a
Mega.
with it 20 inches wide. And you guys will appreciate this hunting Illinois and probably Indiana the same way. Once the second gun season were over in the muzzleloader, he ran the gauntlet. And I'm like, the chance of him surviving now are like 98%. And I'm like, I don't want to hunt you now. I don't want to close the chapter. It's not over. It was a drought year. And I'm like, if you've made it this far, you deserve to live the rest of the year. So even though I pursued him and I passed him at 42 yards because I was out of shooting light and all these interactions, like every day waking up, I'm going to go to this stand. How many stands did we hang? How many blinds did we move? A lot. Trying to kill this deer. And then all of a sudden, no. And Rob knows. He knows when I come in and he's like, oh boy, I got to start
Yeah.
over again. He was to go find
out
another
of
deer.
camera light. Yet I was on the other side of the farm using the same camera filming somebody else. And he's like, yeah, Rover just went by and we didn't have camera light. And I look at my camera and I'm like,
Which,
Oh, yeah.
which, by the way, was the
story.
night before the first gun season.
Oh, geez. So you're
Because that gun season comes in early over here, don't it?
weekend before Thanksgiving, weekend after.
Yeah. And because I wanted to kill Rover with a bow, I purposely got a gun tag for a different county.
Look at you.
he likes stressing me out.
Yeah, I guess
Because I know what would happen.
You
Is,
have to do it that. You have
Yeah,
to
right.
do that.
Hey, you're playing
So
chess.
that's your
You're playing,
temptation.
you're
Right,
playing chess.
right, so against myself.
Yeah,
right?
yes, yes.
So I'll tell you how crazy it is. So then I go spend 2 days stressing about Rover. Then I went
because it was gun season.
right. So then I went and bought a doe tag, so I could go back to my farm to watch him.
Everything's okay, buddy.
And every gunshot, like, I mean, I literally tell him in gun season, don't even come to Illinois. Oh, every gunshot is like, okay, which one
What
of the
deer?
children just got killed?
Children.
Every shot just. Ugh.
Oh man.
So, but now the fun begins, right? So now, unfortunately, we have another drought more severe than last year, and he's not throwing as much junk. We found him right away, which is kind of amazing. It's wildlife. Like, how can you go put a camera out? And I said this when I was doing a seminar with Ray Reeves at the Great American Outdoor Show, and we were doing a seminar together, and I made a prediction. And I was actually, about 3 weeks earlier in my prediction, I said, on this tree, Rover heading in this direction, we're going to get his first picture. And we were 3 weeks quicker than what I predicted.
Wow.
But you have all the intel. And it was so what's he doing on a bean year versus a corn year? So you start developing this for a million, the patterns for a million pictures.
Yeah.
So going into this year, so we planted the 3-way plot, plot specifically designed for him, 4 wind directions. And then we're going to go take your new blend, which I know I'm not supposed to talk about right now. And and I'm going to attempt to kill Rover on their test plot.
You're gonna be on the bag, huh?
I want to be on the bag.
I want to be on the
Cover
back.
of that catalog.
Well, the deer's going to be on the bag. People don't care about me.
You're gonna be on the
He
bag.
wants it named "Putting on the Ritz."
Oh,
Hey,
That's what he wants.
I'm not mad at that.
I think they likes kicking in.
staying at the
Yeah.
Ritz.
You all right, Joe?
I'm good. Oh, I'm there now, man.
Hey, Trust Fall Clover.
I'm just saying.
Pretty sweet sounding too.
Not bad.
Hey, I like it. Put them on the bag. Or just call it Rover. Rover Clover.
Well-
Rover whatever.
So that you heard that story about Rover. We watched the YouTube today,
Yeah.
and I think we already posed the question of Greg, what if he gets in front of you in that test plot and you just up and decide you're not going to shoot him again? Because that could be the chapter.
It could be.
But you could just leave everybody hanging again.
Whoa.
You
Well-
never know.
Well, he's 7.5.
Hey, we had this conversation on Nine Lives. Do you pass him this year or not? Whether injury, stress, or whatever, is he gonna? Oh, you're shaking your head. There's like no way.
Shoot
No
him.
way.
Not happening.
No way.
I'm team shoot 9 lives because we think he's 10.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you did bring up a good point. Like, he might come out of it next year. He might not be as big, but he might come out of it. You never know.
If you see him and he's got like an injury, then you got to shoot him.
Dude, if I see him, he is dying.
Okay, I respect that. Whatever. You know.
Well, and the other,
Absolutely.
I
He
mean,
lived his
the other interesting factor about this deer, which you can tell him what he does year to year.
Yeah. So he goes from a clean typical to trashing. So 4, he trashed out, right? Split brow, inline point, split 4. Next year goes to a clean 10, then trashed out. Now he's back clean.
It's the what'd you call it? The slot machine.
The slot machine. Yep. When you pull that handle on that slot machine and all the variables from the environmental factors, right? Social stress, EHD,
Everything.
worms, ticks,
Winner.
winter, right? Hard rut versus, not a hard rut. You hope they line up to all cherries one day.
It really is just a gamble. It's just the
is.
pull of the
It's
slot
fun.
machine. So many equations, factors, stresses, and unknowns and knowns, and trying to put it's so fun.
Bro, my brain can't even process how much I learned today.
What's great is I'm going to show the pursuit of Rover through social media and YouTube as current as I can, as a way for people to understand the process.
That's awesome.
Okay, because there is a process. Details matter, and you never take a shortcut. So if anybody walks away from anything on this, is understand, don't take shortcuts. Whether you're planting food plots, you're hanging a tree stand, whatever you do, you're leaving your stand at night. Don't take shortcuts. Follow the process, and details matter.
I love that.
There it is.
There it is.
Dude, I'm pumped to see how
I'm
this
so
unfolds.
excited.
So, knowing what he looks like now, I mean, how are you feeling about it?
Did that just answer your question?
Yeah, it did. Okay. It also answers Joe's question.
You're sitting down at the chessboard playing yourself, aren't you?
But still watch the YouTube.
I guess Joe and
I'm gonna have Kurt in the back of my ear going, shoot him.
Rover Clover. Shoot this damn thing.
I guess we can name it whatever we want to name it.
Hey, he's badass either way, man.
But you know what? It's and it's really not how many inches he has. I just hate to close the chapter.
I know what you're saying. I respect that too. I think everyone can respect that. Yeah.
And that's you looked at his body, right? He looks like he's 4.
Yeah, that's why I kind of like instantly underjudged his score because that's just how he.
See, but that's where I'm at with 9 Lives. I'm ready to close the chapter.
Yeah, I could tell you've been stressed out for a long time.
Long time.
There's a lot of bets going on within our crew. There's tattoo bets on the line.
Oh, boy.
There's chip eating bets on the line with
Well, that
him
was
and
already on
Doug.
the line.
I mean, it's a lot of self-inflicted stress. Let's be honest, but it's a great time from this end of the table. It's a lot of fun.
I'm not stressed about that. I'm just stressed over 9 Lives that I've had for the last 10 years.
It'd be cool to close the book on a buck that we believe is 10 that has lived out the majority of his life, and he doesn't have 5 years in him.
No.
He maybe doesn't have 2. Could. It's like there it is.
Yep.
What are you getting?
Spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel.
Wheel of
That's
fortune.
what's fun about it. You never really know
You
what
might go
what-
bankrupt, at the end of the season. You never know.
You're gonna have fun doing it though.
Oh, dude. I'm excited.
Guys, I have enjoyed this episode so much. This has been a perfect day. Beautiful day on the farm, hanging out with the boys. Wish Frank could have made it. Fun podcast, fun conversation. Learned a ton. I want to do this again. I hope you guys will come back.
Absolutely.
You're so close.
Can we talk about the trout on that one?
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about the trout right now.
P.S.
You ain't getting out of this trade show trout thing, Joe.
I wasn't ready to be done because the Ignite just kicked in.
Oh.
So let's go.
Want to go back over to the depot and get a
Thank
couple
you, Jake.
cocktails?
Let's go.
Thank you, Jake.
So I just want to say I do appreciate the great, I feel deep, detailed conversation we've had, even though our wage brains
Haven't caught up yet.
kind of have to simplify it a little bit, but it's great, right? So I really appreciate that.
No, thank you guys. No, it's a blessing to share it with you guys. And likewise, I'm getting the feedback from you guys and watching how you react to the farm and see things, and it helps me learn.
Hey, man. Yeah, we appreciate you inviting us over and showing us all that. I mean,
It was incredible.
I don't think I've ever learned so much in one day.
Yeah, we've had a blast. So, like you say, we need a part 2 at some point.
We
for sure.
have to do it.
Yeah.
Let's talk trade show trout real quick. People are going to wonder, what the hell is a trade show trout? Joe?
Straight from the hands of little children.
Yeah, just ripping hard-earned children's trout.
Nah, they're going to throw them out anyway. So we just got done with Deer Fest, and we were on our way up. It was me, Burley Raj, my dad, and Josh McDaniel. And it was on Thursday when we were on our way up. My dad is an Instagram guru. He said, "Hey, did you see they're going to have a trout pond for the kids?" He does not have a southern accent. I don't know why I just did that today.
They kind of sound like Burley Raj, though.
More like,
Yeah, okay.
am I right?
A little more Hank Hill.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was like, trout, that sounds delicious. And so I called Casey Morgan, the owner of Deer Fest. Man, what are you guys going to do with those trout?
And this is before the show even started.
Yeah, this is
this is
8 o'clock in the
pre-planning.
morning.
Yeah.
On Thursday. I said, what are you going to do with those trout? He goes, what do you mean, what am I going to do with them? I said, well, I want them. Because there's like 70 of them. Cool. I'll take them.
Wait. You have 70 of them?
No, we didn't end up taking 70.
I'll take them.
So we get there, and we had our designated grizzly coolers. We had a 20 and a 40. One's for food, one's for beer. I'll let you guess which one was for which.
Yes.
And we get there, and like, yeah, you can have the trout if you want them after the kids are done. Cool.
After they get done stressing them all out.
Isaac's there in working class alley with us.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm gonna need another cooler to go home with. So he's like, is a 60 good enough? I said, yeah, let's do a 60. So on, was it Saturday night?
Yeah,
They
it
were
would've been
having
at
the
the vendor party.
appreciation,
Yeah,
the
vendor
vendor
appreciation.
party. The guy comes over who's running the kids events. He's like, hey, we're gonna roll out. It's like, what do we need to do? He goes, just bring the cooler. Okay. And they gave us nets, and we just went to town scooping trout out. And
Like fish in a barrel.
so we put them on ice the next day. I was worried because, I mean, it's, they're farm-raised trout. So you don't, it's like going to a grocery store and buying a trout. But I'm like, I don't want to have whole ungutted trout going down the road because somebody might think I'd actually caught them.
Yeah.
So we gutted them out in the parking lot where everybody was tearing down.
Okay.
And who was the guy that walked up and bit the trout head off?
It was one of the guys from Chase Nation.
No one even dared him to do it. He just like wanted his moment. Like, I'll bite a head off.
He took it.
Why? He's like, watch, I'll do it. Everybody's still going, why? And he did it anyway. Good on him, man. A lot of protein there.
It was a good laugh.
But, yeah.
I do have
Scratcher.
documentation of you gutting or cleaning trout.
Yeah, and then you came out to get your trailer, and I'm out there gutting trout in the parking lot. Mm-hmm. And you thought that was the end of it, and then you guys showed up today, and I fixed them for lunch. And
Well, I didn't think I'd ever eat them.
It was an epic failure, for the record.
Listen,
I mean,
they didn't taste that bad. What did we say?
real
A
bony.
lot of bones.
The Deer Fest story I got was from Doug. First, I get some guy just bit a head off a trout.
Yeah.
Didn't hear anything all day. Then I get a text from these two saying, take care of the podcast and our families. I go, what is going on up there? Next day, Joe is cleaning trout in the parking lot. I'm like, what did I miss
What
at this show?
happened there at Deer
What
Fest?
happened? That's
awesome.
my timeline of that show.
Actually, well, you were busy like having a kid or something, so we didn't want to go out there yet.
That's true.
We probably just worried you more than anything. But so yeah, that came full circle, and we did eat those trade show trout.
They weren't. I mean, it just wasn't worth it.
It's a
I
lot
will
of
not
bone.
do that again.
A lot of bones.
Stupid.
Daryl, what did you think of them?
The pork was good.
Oh,
The
jeez.
pork was good.
I appreciate your value and effort. You tried to save those
tried.
from
I
going
mean,
to waste.
Yeah, he
I just
did.
didn't want them to go to waste.
Man,
Yeah.
he put a lot of effort in. I will say that.
That's good on you, man. I ate it.
Yeah.
You can say you've done it.
Yeah.
I had chicken salad.
Yeah, definitely reverted around it. Well, that's a trade show trout story. Where can people find you if they don't already know where to find you guys? And we can go round table. We'll start with you, Greg.
Instagram is the best way to find me. Yep.
Cool. Maybe a major outdoor network.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, Outdoor Channel and My Outdoor TV has all the historical,
Cool.
Information as well. And then now on YouTube.
Cool.
And so we're trying to document everything on a weekly basis, what we're doing on the farm and how we're growing the deer, how we're managing, how we're making decisions.
Awesome.
And then, some of these little how-to pieces. We get a lot of people who ask these questions. How to take a soil test, how to set up a planter, what tractor to buy,
Yeah.
things of that nature. So we just kind of listen to the viewer, and we're putting that out on a weekly basis.
Cool. I'm gonna start following along, man, religiously, and I'm ready for technically part 3.
Yeah.
But I mean, we went heavy on this one. This was great.
Awesome.
A lot of fun. What about you, brother?
You can't find me anywhere. I'm in a tractor.
Okay, I like that.
That's where you'll find me in a tractor.
You can find him on Greg's farm.
No, all my social media got hacked, and I just deleted all of it.
You're a smart guy, probably,
Yeah,
for that.
Yeah, it's been nice.
Daryl, where people find you?
In the lab, Big Tine lab.
In your white lab coat.
Yeah.
Do you wear a lab coat?
No.
That's a bummer, man.
You should. Can you
really
get
hoping
him
you had a
one?
lab coat.
Somebody else took that gimmick. We don't use that.
We're gonna change that.
Could you at least get him like a beaker or something?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
Where can people find you, Joe?
Just hit me up on the website, or I'm still doing all the social media accounts. So if you have a question or anything, any of the Big Tine, Instagram, Facebook, straight off the website. If you have a question, that's where I'm at.
You're the guy.
Comes right to me.
Making feeding deer cool again, or cool in general.
Still trying.
He is.
Still trying.
Eric, killer day, man. You got anything?
no, man. Thanks again for letting us come tour the farm and having an awesome day.
No, thank you guys.
It was kick
Yeah,
ass.
we
man.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
I appreciate
it
you
was great.
coming here in person, man. That means a lot to us. I know it's not always convenient to do in person podcasts, but giving us a chance.
It's worth it.
I appreciate
you
that.
You guys are great to hang out with.
Well, thank you, man.
Thank you.
We've had a
Yeah,
blast.
this studio, dude, this is amazing.
Thank you.
It's we're coming back.
Okay.
It's kind of like
I
our farm.
that.
We're always trying to improve it,
And
Yeah.
like literally the whole experience, going across across the street, getting a good meal.
Yep.
Yeah, we had to
hanging
create
out.
some edges there. There was a pathway. We could get you over to the tavern.
See, now you're thinking.
See, it's wired
Sometimes
now.
you got to think like a whitetail.
That's
I'm gonna be
right.
so advanced on part 3. When you
We're
guys
making our
come
plot.
back.
We're making our plot a little bigger with the building next door.
That's right.
Get
Get you coming back.
That's right.
Palatability.
You don't want your supporters to leave, so that you're going to add on.
Yeah, we're gonna hold you in hostage and never let you go anywhere. That's our goal here at Working Class. We're having fun. Thank you guys so much.
you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks everyone
Yep.
watching, listening. You know what to do. Go shoot your bow. We love you. Peace.